All right, so welcome to SCUBA class. Yay! You are entering a new world beneath the sea, and this is SCUBA Educators International. We'll tell you in a bit. Walt's going to be teaching. We used to be YMCA SCUBA, and we have the same standards. In 2008, it changed. A lot of things happened in the world in 2008. And what happened at the time was YMCA decided to give up SCUBA, and a bunch of instructor trainers said, we can't do that. We have the best standards in the industry. And they ended up basically converting it to SCUBA Educators International. So anyone who loses their YMCA card goes to SEI. And I was a YMCA dive master. And so anyway, yes. So if you ever do lose your card, the best thing to do is reach out to me, because I keep really good records and I can normally be reached at all hours unless I'm on a boat somewhere, and I can help you. Our teaching team is pretty big, actually. And Walt is here with you tonight, and Walt is a veteran. And what I'd love to do is kind of share your story a little bit, to tell them a little bit about who you are and what made you want to learn to scuba dive before we get going.
I had a lot of appointments, and I came back and I got hurt, I had a traumatic brain injury, so I needed something to keep my mind occupied, and I get my hands on the person. Being under the water and everything, so it's so relieving. It's like a whole nother world in there. It's like a therapy session for me.
It is for me too.
And so if I forget what I'm saying in the middle of something, I'm trying to rework the wiring a little bit. That's my new name.
Well, we're glad you're here, and we do have a bunch of other people, and I'm sure you'll get to meet some of them as well. We are 100% unpaid volunteers, including me. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and everyone's tuition goes to funding scholarships, including for people like Walt, who is completing his dive master certification. So, and he's been with us since the start with open water, advanced, a lot of certifications. So, all right. So you tell me at what point you want to begin. So the program, we just talked about the leadership team. I'm Gabrielle, by the way. I'm coming up on dive number 3,000. I say I have a scuba addiction. Many members of our leadership team have disabilities, and I'm one of them. I have invisible disabilities. But I feel the same way about Walt. When I'm underwater, everything just goes away. I am on my game when I'm underwater. I'm like so happy. Nothing hurts, like everything just feels great. So yeah, and then we want to hear about you. What made you want to learn to scuba dive? And forget about the we very accelerated here, okay? So tell us what I know this is a great mother-daughter bonding experience, but what really made you say let's go diving?
A few years ago, we went scouting and snorkeling off of St. Mark's, and I found it so meditating.
It is.
Because you have the breathing part,
Mhm.
and you have to concentrate on that. And I ended up swimming longer than everybody else. I could be in there all day.
Awesome.
And I just had so much fun, and I could just keep doing that. And Meisa expressed an interest in doing scuba. It's not snorkeling, but okay, it could be summer maybe.
You'll actually catch a lot more scallops too. Just saying. Okay.
I started to scuba diving since I went to the Georgia Aquarium for overnight, and I saw people in there scuba diving.
We were just in there. We were just there.
It's a big.
Literally, we just had 80 people at the Georgia Aquarium 2 weeks ago. We were there, and we had 48 divers. We took up every slot. We were the ones diving over your head, that's so, yeah, we do a lot of that. We also go to the Epcot Aquarium. So
I'm just like, oh, I want to tell you that. I want to.
awesome. And actually, we love, I think I can speak on behalf of Walt here. We love interacting with the kids outside too. Like I'll blow kisses, and do you play rock, paper, shoot? Yeah. Yeah, and so, you know, we love interacting with the kids outside too, whenever we're diving, so it's fun. Cool. And I have to say, if you saw the whale sharks there, guess what they've been seeing in Panama City lately? Whale sharks.
Yes.
4 of them. 4 whale sharks in the past week have been spotted in Panama City, including, yes,
I didn't.
including, yes, yes, they have been spotted in the past here. But they're normally more offshore. They've been actually spotted on the same wreck that is like my favorite wreck for open water divers. It's called the Red Sea. They've been spotted in the past on the same wreck because it's known for a lot of, huh?
That's too warm.
No, right now the temperature at depth is still mid to upper 70s and the surface is 84. South Florida is scorching. It's like 90 degrees. So right now our waters are perfect for them, and they're known for coming through here. They're just not known for being seen because they tend to, but they've been seen a lot lately. Like there's so many photos and video, including friends of mine, including some who came on the Georgia Aquarium trip, then went and got to actually dive with them in the wild. So yeah, super exciting. But
You'll notice when the light sun goes out.
look up.
Think about
But we do get to dive with turtles and lots of other cool things, so a lot more often here, so.
The only thing I'm concerned about is like a night dive.
Mm-mm.
Like if you ever dive at night.
I dive at night all the time. There's no need to be concerned, and you don't have to ever dive at night if you don't want to. But I'll tell you what, night dives are fun because all the critters come out at night, and you know what else? There's bioluminescence. Do you know what that is?
Yes.
Okay, and so I do like this bioluminescent dance at night. I just like, you know, move my arms and so that there's little sparkles coming off of everything. It's
Is
fun.
that anywhere? Or is that
It
one-
is, it is more prevalent in certain places, but you see it here, you see it in South Florida, you see it in almost every ocean so I've been to 88 countries and I've dived in most of them. And yes, I love it. I've seen bioluminescence just about in every country that I've been to.
Oh,
So
wow.
I love night dives because a lot of things come out at night that are cool.
Like
So.
everybody can go diving with families somewhere.
Yes, I did that last year in Hawaii. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a place there and it's not very deep and it's so much fun. And so what I would recommend if you do want to go that route is get advanced certified so that you're certified to dive at night. So you have some experience before you go there. So it's not scary. Because the first time, honestly, it is a little scary, but I like to hold people's hands at night. And you know what I mean? I like to like ease you into it so it's not so scary. And then I think you're going to enjoy it a lot more.
Yeah,
Oh, beautiful woman.
yes.
Definitely. But it is fun. And so if you're going back to Hawaii, I highly recommend doing the night dive with mantas. It's awesome. Just phenomenal. Matter of fact, go to my YouTube channel and search for manta rays or Hawaii and you'll see them. And I think you'll be like blown away at how cool it is. Okay. So, all right. We already know the time, costs, and what's included. We know the requirements. You've already done the sizing thing and we've done the schedule. So.
Why SCI?
Mhm.
Because it's a longer course. Education comes first, then marketing, not like all the other ones.
That's true.
And you dive in the comfort of the real world. It's changed to expand your life.
And we're really focused on the learning, you know, we're more focused on learning than marketing. So you won't hear as much about SEI, but what you will hear is that we produce really, really good divers. Like our standards are super high and we
Just like
care.
some of the other ones are like, we need a certificate.
Yeah, they'll give you a
It's like
certificate for
constantly
anything.
paying for stuff.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, they'll make you have like, you'll have a certification for how to turn on your air. You know, I'm kind of exaggerating, but they really do.
Standards are lower.
They are much
So
so.
like, you just have to pay, and diving is, it's a technical thing, you got one, you know, technicality of your BC and your buoyancy and everything, you just can't put people out in the water and then go, you know, scuba diving.
Yeah, so it is a chance to expand your life and see the other half of the world. It is awesome. It really is. So
What does scuba mean? what's an acronym or something?
I remember the BA is breathing apparatus.
Good. Do you know it?
I don't remember it. Self-contained, okay. Yeah,
Self-contained.
I'm writing them, that's what.
Right, okay. And by the way, if you brought your materials with you, you can actually follow along in the classroom notes section if you want. It's intentionally not completely in order so that you're focused on, you know, taking notes as we go along.
Wait, is that also with this one?
No, so one is homework, and just so you know, we are not gonna check your homework. You are an adult in this class. If you want to do your homework and have us check it for you, we can, but you don't have to do your homework here. Okay. Your homework really is just to read the book and to be attentive in class, okay? And that's it. So, okay, so
Who do we have to thank for this? Who do you think invented scuba diving?
Somebody that wanted to do it.
mhm,
A guy that was almost a fish with a strange name.
I,
Yeah.
Good stuff.
very good.
Um,
So the world beneath the sea is awesome. You're gonna feel suspended and weightless. You're gonna get to see coral reefs, which are cool. And so this is our outline for the course, and we're gonna go through modules 1 and 2 tonight. Okay? And then the next time we're gonna go through 3 and 4, maybe part of 5 normally. And then the one after that, we'll do the remainder of 5, and then 6 and 7. And the final one will be your transfer of knowledge or exam. And we've already planned your pool training and your open water dives. This really is a great community here, right? Well, like a really good community of divers. We have a group on Facebook called Scuba Friends.
It's
And-
really grown big.
It is. We have people all over the world. So you could post and say like, hey, we're going to the Philippines. Any recommendations for who to dive with there or whatever? And people will have lots of great feedback. And your certification card is worldwide recognized. And yeah, you can do lots of fun things. You can just do trips, but I do encourage you to really make sure that you stay engaged in diving. Like keep diving. Don't do 1 or 2 dives a year. Okay. We are really lucky here. I think people don't realize that we have such beautiful diving in our community, like such great diving. You're going to get to see 2 locations, but there are lots of locations here.
Tons of springs.
Yeah.
is there ever diving at Wapula Springs?
That's a great question. So there is diving at Cherokee Sink at Wakulla Springs, which we can go to. In fact, we could go there instead of Big Blue if you wanted to, but the visibility tends to be not as good as Big Blue. So I really prefer Big Blue. Wakulla Springs itself used to be open to divers, and I have dived there as a volunteer crew with DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, helping pull hydrilla. And so there have been a couple of occasions when I've gotten to dive there. I also, Ronnie and I did an expo. We were part of a conference on accessible tourism in Florida. And we did a demo, and it was at Wakulla Springs, and it was a big surprise because you know, we were like, we haven't been able to dive there in years. They're like, yeah, you can dive. Really? Okay, let's not ask again. Let's not say, are you sure we can dive here? I'm like, okay, let's go diving. And it was awesome. It was so awesome. So yeah, it was really beautiful, just beautiful.
Just wondering.
Yes. Okay, so you already know you've got pool training, you've got 2 days of diving. It's really 5 dives, 4 on scuba plus a skin diving skill, which we'll explain to you in the pool session. We'll practice it too. And you're going to be certified as an open water diver. That's going to get you to 60 feet deep. Okay. And so we train people at all levels, and we really like to focus on the leadership levels. So if you were going to get anything after open water, the next thing I would recommend would be a combination of advanced and nitrox. And so there are restrictions on junior. You're going to be certified as a junior open water diver. And the restriction is that you must dive with an adult at all times until you reach age 15. And if you've been active and you show me that you've been logging your dives and everything, then we can convert you to basically adult open water diver. So
Would I have to take like another exam for that?
nope, it's all verbal. So I will ask you questions and make sure that you know what you're doing.
What's
Okay.
the recommended amount of dives, like per month? to keep?
So the recommended amount of dives, they say that you should have at least 10 dives a year, which is really easy. That's just 5 dives. That's like a 1 day of diving every other month. So it's really easy to do that, or a trip. But I personally think you should do more, you know, so. All right, so you've already got your materials. You got your textbook, workbooks, and one is classroom notes and one is homework. And classroom notes, you can follow along the lecture as Walt is about to teach. And you've got your logbook. If you can't find it, let me know and I'll get you another one, okay? And then you've got your dive tables. Next session, we'll start to focus more on the dive tables, okay? And they are definitely probably the more challenging part of the class is dive table. So rest your brain for that one, okay? You've already know about the medical requirements and you've already completed the form, so thank you. So I'm gonna hand it over to Walt here.
Beginning of diving, there was free diving back in 3000 BC. And the air compensator was.
Compressor?
Compressor
Mhm.
in 1837. Cousteau, the king of diving, was in 1943. And the first YMC course was in 59, and in 2008, like Gabrielle still turned into SEI. Are there risks for scuba diving? What kind of risks? What do you hear?
Compression sickness.
There you go.
Decompression sickness.
Yeah.
Okay. Dealing with your the pressures, the different atmospheres and everything. You'll have to get used to your ears, clearing your ears if y'all are having ear problems or anything like that. Also your the body spaces and everything. Some larger people are more buoyant than thinner people and all that. And then really when you come to dive, you might be in a cold place, but you have to be fully hydrated. You have to have a good night's sleep, eat well.
No alcohol, not.
Exactly. That's right. No alcohol. Especially the night, but from the night before on, no, none of that. Now, listen, a little caffeine is okay as long as you offset it with water. Okay. I'm just telling you that. Most dive boats will actually have that for you. So, yes. Okay, including Big Blue Dive Boat, they always have. So, okay. So yeah, it's to keep you, safe is our biggest goal, and to make sure that you have a good time. So there are contraindicators, and they are seizures, pregnancy, and any lung injury.
What kind of lung injury?
So like a collapsed lung, do you have anything like that?
A few years ago, I had a PE, but I'm completely clear.
Okay, you've been cleared by a doctor and everything? Okay, then good. So, well, the biggest risk?
The biggest risk always is exhaling on the ascent when you're scuba diving. Never hold your breath. You always want to constantly be breathing. You're regulator, constantly breathing. You don't want to hold your breath, because if you hold your breath, then the nitrogen gets in your bloodstream, or when you're ascending, it'll get to your lungs and it'll expand your lungs.
Right.
So you always want to be breathing in and out when you're scuba diving.
Well, if you take a deep breath,
So we do try to really focus a lot in the pool on getting you to breathe properly, and it helps a lot of people who have stress on land. So, how shall I say this? I'm a leadership coach by trade, and so I can kind of see when people are in the water, like if they hold a lot of tension in their lungs, that they're not going to be as, able to relax, and therefore they're going to have a hard time getting neutrally buoyant. And so really try to teach you how to relax your lungs and not take those you know, it's really just nice, relaxed breathing, and that's going to help you enjoy diving more. You're going to use less air. You're going to use less weight. It's going to be, you know, much better for you.
And you'll know you're really, really buoyant or you have good trim when you can like take a little bit more air in and you can climb just a little bit or let some more air out and you'll descend just a little bit. It's all about the breaths and everything.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, old school scuba instructors overweight their students and way overweight. And so they'll recommend 10% of your body weight as how much weight you should wear when you're diving, which is really a big no-no. No, we don't do that at all. Matter of fact, I don't wear any weight. In the ocean, I might wear 2 pounds, maybe, you know, if I have a bunch of thick layers on, I might wear 4, but I'm never going to do more than that. If I wore 10% of my body weight, it would be bad. And so people who wear 10% of their body weight end up having a really hard time getting neutrally buoyant. So the goal is to be neutrally buoyant, kind of flat in the water. And if you're overweighted, your feet are down, you're exhausted from like carrying all this stuff too, because you have to climb up ladders and you have to, you know, it's yeah. And then because you're not trim like this and your feet are down, you end up using a lot more energy too. So you're exhausted and it's not healthy. And not only that, when your feet are down, you're going to end up like kicking reefs and, you know, silt. If you're like at Big Blue, if you did that, you kick up silt at Big Blue and, you know, so it's really unhealthy to be overweighted. So.
Can I ask a question
Of
about
course.
like the mask itself
Mhm.
for the breathing? Will it affect braces at all?
It should not affect braces. So the mask won't, but the mouthpiece, you may have some challenges. Do you have the metal braces or do you have the other kind of brace? Yeah, so I had braces too. And I would just say that you know how it feels to put a snorkel in your mouth with braces? It's going to feel the same way as with a regulator. Okay, so we have some options. If you're not enjoying it, I can bring the full face mask. Or we can change the mouthpiece out. I do have different mouthpieces that fit you differently. And so that really helps. Personally, I have a molded one that helps me. And so we can experiment with finding a mouthpiece that works well for you. Yeah, it was a good question.
You have to get used to it. It takes a while
Yeah.
to hold that the regulator in the mouth, especially if you're on diving for 25 minutes, 30 minutes down there. It's like, my mouth is killing me. When you get used to it, yeah, you'll have
Well,
to.
I'll tell you, mine never
Rest your
gets
mouth.
sore ever, because what you don't want to do is bite really hard. You just want to gently have it in your mouth, gently. And so, yeah. And so the pool is a good opportunity to kind of see how that works. And I'll bring different mouthpieces and see which one works best for you. And then if you have one that you're like, this one fits me so much more than the others, then we'll make sure you use that one. But I'll also bring the full face mask just in case.
So at the pool, are we not going to use like any scuba equipment?
Oh yeah, no, we're scuba diving in the pool. Okay, so what we're going to do in the pool is we're going to start out with a swim test, and then we're going to do skin diving. So you're going to do some snorkeling skills, and then we're going to go straight into scuba. The whole rest of the day will be scuba. Okay, so we're going to do a lot of skills. Some of the skills are going to be hard. I'm just going to tell you, don't get frustrated. You know, if you have a challenge with any of the skills, it's okay. Just we practice until you get it. Okay.
Don't worry, I've dealt with a lot of frustration during chess. and-
Okay, good. Then you should be fine. You should be absolutely fine. So I am providing insurance with you through Divers Alert Network. It is the largest nonprofit organization that is with SCUBA, and they're out of Durham, North Carolina. They're awesome. They do all the dive medicine and research, and they're just phenomenal. So dan.org is their address, and that's the same place that if you haven't already gotten an invite to the course, did I send you an invite already to the, Prepared Diver course?
I'll sign it for you.
Okay. All right, so skin diving equipment. Yeah, there you go. Yay. There you go.
All right, you've got your masks, your snorkels, your fins, and your booties.
Do you guys already have them?
You have everything?
Yeah, I don't have the right one. I think I was for snorkeling. So like the fins. And then I don't have boots. I do have a mask. Do you have a mask?
Good.
Snorkel, but
Well, with the snorkel, you just need a really basic one, like these ones, right? Like the white one and the yellow. You don't want the red one with the big ball on the top. That's gonna kind of get in the way with scuba.
We'll bring it to our next class.
Okay, and I'll bring extras in case, like I'll bring extras in
Some
case
of them
you're,
have a little plastic flip too.
oh,
to
yeah.
kinda get in the way or get in the hair or
Yeah.
like leaves a dent in your head.
Yeah, so we recommend the neoprene ones.
Well, we bought it from snorkeling. Scuba.
Right. Well, you may want to go to Coral Reef Scuba, which is a local dive shop and shop for actual like scuba ones, okay?
Okay.
And if not, I have some extras you can borrow, but it is nice to have your own.
So it's the scuba snorkel.
Y-
the mask.
No, it's actually, so the black, the yellow and the white are all kind of very basic snorkels. You want a basic snorkel. Often for snorkeling, people use a dry snorkel, which is the red one there. And that's not really recommended for scuba diving. It's more than you need in scuba.
Those are those ones that have a little ping pong ball that's. goes
Yeah.
up. You don't want that because you're gonna trap air in your snorkel.
And it's also gonna get, kind of in the way. You don't
I
want
think that's
bulky.
what I-
Okay. So, but
double check.
yeah, so, and then the boots and the fins, you want full fins for scuba because we want to protect the feet. Like when we're in the springs and stuff, you want to protect your feet. You
Yeah, I
know,
don't have them.
okay. So,
Okay. Because my heel is exposed, right? That's
Yeah.
why
you want your heel exposed because you're going to be putting a boot into it.
oh, we do.
Yes, you do. You don't want the closed ones. In fact, Walt is gonna go into the next slides and he'll tell you a little bit more about choosing a mask.
Using the right mask. What you really just wanna do is just go to the store and look in the mirror and you wanna just put it up to your face, and if it seals right up to your face with a little bit of breathing in from your nose, it's perfect. And if there's no leakage at all. you can do that.
Just like this girl is doing. And so, and then you take your hands off and you suck it in, and the people at Coral Reef can help you with this, okay?
Mhm.
But there's all kinds of different masks on the market, some have like peripheral vision, some don't. You're gonna be turning your head, so don't worry about that. Really focus on the fit. I know sometimes you want to look at color. I have to say, like I am into color. I was just gonna say, I like my colors. But just if you're into a certain color, that's okay, but just make sure that it fits you, okay? So like I like red, all my scuba stuff is red. Yeah, yellow is, it's cooler, okay, I admit it. All right, so do either of you have corrective vision? Oh, wow, nice, okay, well then we don't need to. Do you wear contacts or glasses?
It's only sunglasses.
I wear
Perfect,
contacts on the scuba diving.
I do too, yep.
Mhm.
All right, and some people use this instead. They actually put lenses in their masks. All right, Walt, snorkels, there we go.
There's your snorkels. The red one is the one with the little ping pong ball in there, and you just want something simple.
Yep.
Like, oh,
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And we do recommend, Walt mentioned the clips that come with them. Almost all the clips are terrible and they get caught in your hair and they, so they sell, for really cheap, these the neoprene ones. You want to get a neoprene snorkel holder and it's never gonna, like the clips, they're always falling off. People lose them, they're painful against your head. The neoprene ones are awesome. You'll never lose it. It doesn't hurt you. You're not gonna get your hair caught, so. All right, so Walt choosing fins is next.
Choosing the right fins, you just, they come pretty much sized to your feet, and you wanna make sure you get a nice snug fit. And when you pick out your boots, you wanna make sure there's a little like a little bridge on the heel of it. So your strap comes around and fits on top of that little heel. Some people, and you're gonna do a lot of walking in these, you're on rocks and on parking lots and everything. So you want a good quality boot.
Yeah, the ones they sell at Coral Reef are great, and you're gonna want a winter boot, okay? Don't get the summer boots. Even in the summer, I don't wear summer boots, okay? So the summer boots are the little tiny ones, and they only come, you don't want that. These are gonna protect your feet more. They're gonna, when we're diving in the springs, especially when it's cold, it's gonna make a big difference.
You want your feet warm. You can even get diving socks.
Yeah, you can, but you don't worry about that. We also don't recommend the split fin, which is the one on the far right. we don't recommend that. We do frog kicks only, and split fins are really meant for flutter kicking, and we'll explain to you why flutter kicking is not what, we don't want to do that in scuba, okay? Because it impacts the environment in a bad way.
And we didn't want scuba diving thing, we don't want like that. What are those guys call it, dive real deep?
Yeah. So, the long free diving ones,
That their
yeah.
fins are like that
Yeah, they
long.
are. We don't want
I
that.
just want to be more.
So and the one on the left here is the one with the closed. You don't want that either. You want to have one where it exposes the back. So like the yellow one right there. It exposes the back so that you can then put your boot in it. Okay. All right. So once you get that, we are good to go. Now listen, before you come to the pool session, if you get a brand new mask, it's super important to use toothpaste in it to remove the film. And I don't mean once, I mean like 8 to 10 times. Okay. So these days they're packed with really thick film. And so when you get it, if you don't remove that film, they're going to fog up all the time. So you want to use toothpaste and then rinse it, and then use more toothpaste and rub, rinse it like 8 to 10 times.
What type of toothpaste?
Just your most basic type of toothpaste, not too abrasive, like the white paste stuff is good. Okay. All right.
Depends on how your oral hygiene with your face mask. Do you want your face mask to have cavities or not?
I prefer not to fog.
Okay,
There you go.
so the introduction to the diving sciences, the diver anatomy, is pretty much your ears and your lungs, and
Mhm.
your
Yeah, and we'll talk about respiration.
respiration and your circulation. Right, what makes up the air that we breathe right now?
70.
Good job.
There you go.
She's smart.
This is gonna be on your test.
It is on your test, okay? This is important.
1% of it,
This is important.
whatever level. Alright. There's hemoglobins in your blood, they're about 45% of your blood, and they carry the oxygen in and the carbon dioxide out. You'll hear that too, but that's. Hyper something.
Hyperventilation is not applicable to scuba. It's for free diving. We're the only agency that teaches free diving, skin diving skills too. So we do teach you a little bit about skin diving. And so one thing you should be aware of, and this is on your test, is that hyperventilation induced blackout can occur when snorkeling. And these days, what's happening is that people who are free diving are just pushing the limits. They're going deeper, and they're really, matter of fact, a lot of the places we dive in the springs, you'll see people just, free diving behind you 50, 60 feet next to you. And you're like, oh, okay. Even in the ocean, all over the world I've been, I'm like, okay. So, but they push the limits more. And what happens is on the way back up, they can black out. And so the free divers that are setting these world records and stuff, they have scuba divers stationed to help them not pass out. So if they pass out, then the scuba divers can save them. So it's crazy. We don't have to worry about it with scuba diving. It's definitely a skin diving thing. So this is kind of what it looks like if you were going to hyperventilate. So
Hyperventilation, do you know what hyperventilation is?
Kind of like,
like, so
kind of like getting like a panic attack.
yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, so a lot of free divers, right before they go down, they intentionally kind of starve their lungs a little bit so that they can build up that oxygen. So, okay. All right. So we'll talk about more important things now.
Air to the water, in contrast, the density is about 800 times more. Drag forces, that's like all your equipment, your BC and your octo hanging off and your gauges hanging off creates drag. Your arms out to the side creates drag. So
Which is why we don't hold
you
them.
want to be a nice little torpedo in the water.
Slow you down.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And light travels 20% slower in the water,
27%.
27%
Yeah,
slower in the
okay.
water. And buoyancy is Archimedes
Archimedes.
principle.
And we'll explain.
Go over that.
Yeah, we're gonna throw information at you, and then we're gonna explain what it is.
and pressure is 14.7 at 33,
feet of salt water.
feet of salt water. That's
Yeah,
an
so-
absolute pressure.
Yeah, so that's 1 atmosphere absolute.
Yeah.
And now we're
Every
gonna,
33 feet is an atmosphere.
So
So
now-
we have water, the water level.
now we're gonna give you a graphic depiction
There you
of what
go.
that means. Okay. So with boil, have you ever felt mask squeeze when you're, like when you went scalloping? Have you ever felt like the mask kind of sucks against you a little bit? Not at all, ever?
Well, we were seeing Marshall's low tide,
Okay.
max maybe 6 feet.
Well, so Boyle's law is pressure and volume are inversely proportional, and you can see here that at the surface right now, we have 1 atmosphere absolute, that's 1 ATA. And while you can continue, when we go to 33 feet,
When we go to 33 feet, you'll have, it's 2 atmospheres, and you'll have half the volume, it'll be 2 atmospheres, and it keeps going on, and 33 feet, it's 66 feet, and there's a third of the volume at 3 atmospheres, and then 99 feet, when we go past 99 feet, you'll have a quarter of the volume, it's at 4 atmospheres down.
and this is in saltwater. It is slightly different for freshwater. Instead of 33, it's 34, okay? We're gonna, we'll explain it more in a bit. So with the thing with SCUBA educators is we give you a little bit of information to kind of plant the seed, and then we come back to it and we dig a little deeper, okay? Other Boyle's laws, effects?
Breathing and volume, you just want to maintain a nice constant breathing, constantly breathing in and out. You want to clear your ears before you go, like on the boat, and then you want to clear your ears constantly as you're going down. And you also feel your mask squeezing just a little bit, the more atmospheres we go down. And you also, your wetsuit will compress. The wetsuit will actually get heavier because it squeezes together with the pressure down there.
So it'll make you heavier. It's pressure. So remember, pressure and volume are,
Go down,
yeah.
and squeezes thing, even squeezes the air inside your cylinder.
so this is one reason we add air to our BC when we go deep. And BC means buoyancy compensator, or BCD, buoyancy compensation device.
It's free falling.
So when you mean by heavier, not the indication, yeah.
Correct. So like the wetsuit compresses and it makes you feel heavier. And so therefore you need to compensate by adding air, because the air in the wetsuit is compressed due to Boyle's law, pressure and volume are inversely proportional. Okay. So these are all different Boyle's law effects. Let's talk
And
about Dalton's law.
Dalton's law is understanding the partial pressures, what's in your cylinder. And you've got same thing as, if you're gonna breathe, what's in your cylinder right now in open water, is exactly what we're breathing right now. There's no more, you can call it one gas, and that's oxygen. And each acts independently, the nitrogen, the oxygen, and the other.
So another important law of physics is,
Henry's law. Henry's law is the absorption of gases in the body, like a Coke, drinking a Coke. The gas has space with the CO2, and when you release the bubbles come out, like they just sit there and it flows, and as soon as you open it, it releases on the ascent. And if you go too fast, it makes the bubbles expand too much in your bloodstream, and that's what causes decompression status.
and like you said about alcohol and things like that, that is another reason that we're so adamant about no substances, unnatural substances, drugs of any kind from the day before, and you dive, because it increases your likelihood of decompression sickness.
And when we come up to our 3-minute safety stop, we'll have you get on the rope.
That's only on the dive boat.
Yeah.
So at Big Blue, we'll be in open water.
Well, we'll go literally, you only want to go up one hand at a time. So think of that when you're in the regular water, like our dive computers tell us if we're ascending too fast or not. You just want to send it at a normal rate so the nitrogen can fizz out as you're going up.
And so, when you are on a line, like on the dive boat, it's literally gonna be hand over hand, so slow. So we come up real slow. We'll practice in the pool, and then, when we're in, at Big Blue, we'll show you like how slow you need to ascend, and it's not that hard. It's just, the reason we do it is just to be super safe.
Mhm.
So to reiterate, Henry's law says that at a constant pressure, the amount of a given gas that dissolves in a liquid is directly proportional to the partial pressure of the gas in equilibrium with the liquid. All right. Air consumption.
Air consumption, all right. How long will my air last? Well, it depends on the density of the air, and if the air increases at depth. So in other words, when we go down, the air in our cylinder squeezes, it's compressed. So you're breathing more volume of the air in your cylinder at depth. That's why you have your dive tables. It'll tell you how long you should be at a certain depth, because you're bringing in more air, and the more air invites more nitrogen into your system.
What's up?
The temperature water? Temperature.
Temperature? Not really.
Not with air consumption.
That temperature only really,
I'll tell you though,
it's not comfortable to dive in really cold.
if you are really cold, you are gonna be more stressed, and therefore you're gonna use air faster, just because you're gonna be more stressed. So like when we're at Big Blue in the winter time, which it's not gonna be when we're diving, but in the winter time and you're already cold and you get in the water and you get out and you're like, oh, you are gonna use more air when you're in the water, because it's gonna feel colder. Honestly, on the first set of dives, you're gonna use more air anyway, because you're gonna be stressed. The first set of dives, I'm just gonna tell you, here's what's gonna happen every time this happens. In the pool, you're gonna feel really good, like, wow, that was hard, but we did it. And then you're gonna get into open water and you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, that's what 45 feet looks like. Wow, that's scary. And then you're gonna do it, and one of two things happens on the first set of dives. People are scared, which is normal. And they sometimes start to relax by the second dive. But by the third dive, something really happens. So even if you didn't start to relax on the second dive and you thought, this is way harder than I thought it was going to be, you're going to be task overloaded. It's your first set of dives. You're just learning new skills. We're going to be making you do some skills in the water too. So you're going to feel a little overwhelmed on the first set. The second set, you're going to be like, this is why I learned to dive. This is so cool. It's going to be awesome. It's a whole different experience by the time you get to your third and fourth dive. That's why we make you do that many. And, this is a nonprofit organization, and I've always said this, but if you ever feel after the fourth dive, or if you or I feel that you're not ready to go out there on your own into the world and dive, I'm going to say, let's do more dives together. Okay. Don't ever take it personally. I just want to produce safe divers, right? So if you've done 4 dives with me and I'm like, I'm going to give you a conditional pass, you need to come back and do 2 more dives with me. And, and I've done this with people up to, however many dives it takes until I know that they are safe and they're good divers. Okay. So I think you 2 are going to be great. All right. Speaking of cold.
Dressing for the temperature.
Yeah.
About that.
Our organization does teach ice diving, but I am not an ice diving instructor, and you will never catch me under any circumstances will you catch me going into ice like that.
But we dive year round.
We do dive year round.
Because all the sinks and everything,
The springs.
all the springs, they only go down to 72 or 69 degrees.
Yeah. Year round.
We dive year round.
Yeah, it is nice to dive. I would say it's really nice to live here because we do have year-round diving, and it's honestly most of our winter days here. I put in air quotes. Most of our winter days are like in the 70s or 60s. It's not terrible. Obviously, we're not going to go when we have a cold front and it hits 30. Well, at least I won't. But in the winter, it actually feels really, really good in the water. All right.
Okay, what happens underwater visually? Everything appears closer and larger. So if you're looking at a fish, 8 feet away, it's actually, 6 feet away, it's actually 8 feet away.
Yeah, it's gonna look like 6, but it's
And fish is gonna, at 3 feet is gonna appear like it's, really large, it's gonna be.
yes.
So you're gonna see so many cool things, you're gonna be, in a fish wall. Where there's 8 gajillion million
It
fish
is.
surrounding you, and you're gonna go, this is the coolest thing in the world.
It is.
You don't wanna move, you get frozen with how beautiful it is, it's crazy.
It is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Colors change too, do you have any idea what's the first color that disappears?
All right.
Right,
Very good. Roy G. Biv. Roy G. Biv. You got it.
that's why we see a lot of like scuba diving pictures and stuff, the red, it seems weird on the pictures. All right, and sounds and hearing, Brian can't hear his dive buddy, telling the directions of the dive buddy, so you can hear stuff underwater, but you don't know which direction it's coming from. You
Yeah.
can hear a boat, but you don't know which direction it's coming from, or like some dive masters will have a little thing that knocks on their tank to get everybody's attention. Or a little-
Cylinder.
She has a little,
I have a honker thing
a
already.
little honker.
Yeah.
and
To get your attention if I need to.
Mhm.
I very rarely will ever do it, but if I need to get your attention, I can get your attention that way. Yeah, the really neat thing is like if you're diving somewhere like the jetties at St. Andrews State Park or the Destin jetties, it'll sound like the boat is on top of you. You're gonna hear, but it's not, it could be like a mile away. You just, you can hear a lot of things, you just have no idea. So that was module 1. Yep, so we talked about,
The anatomy effects of water, respiration and circulation, buoyancy and drag, light and sound, and pressures. And all caused by changes in the density.
very good. So now we're gonna move on to module 2.
Challenges going underwater, your body, mind, and diving.
Something else?
No. Wait, what are we doing?
We're gonna use that next time. So that's dive table.
Those are the diving.
Yeah, we're not gonna get into it on the first lecture, but it's good you have it.
It looks confusing, it isn't.
Yes, and so it is definitely a challenging lecture, but so be rested for next time. And it'll be toward the end of it that we talk about it, okay? All right,
Diving adjustments, you have your diving physics. That's how you respond to things in the water. Thermal adjustments, there is a thermal climb. It's like she said, the surface water, but it's not the surface water. The surface water goes down 10 or 20 feet, and then there's a thermal climb.
but not always though. So like the springs, you're not gonna have a thermocline because it's
You're
fed
gonna-
from earth.
It's cold.
Yeah, exactly. But so we're gonna talk about each of those things. So the first is diving physics. The physical differences between air and water. We'll talk about applying the laws of physics, how they affect our bodies, and what we need to adjust. These are gonna include things like depth, pressure, volume, gas composition, and absorption.
Measuring air pressure is like a column of air at sea level. Right, so the pressure increases when you go down the pyramid, and it increases when you go down and decreases when you come back up.
Yeah, so it's less dense at altitude, so pressure decreases as altitude increases. And here we have that number again, 14.7 PSI, which is 1 atmosphere absolute. Here's a great way to remember Boyle's law.
14.7, 1 atmosphere.
14.7. You see, you're filling in the
I'll
blank,
have to remember that.
filling in the blank? Good. All right, so Boyle's law, a great way to remember Boyle's law is Boyle's balloons.
Wait, 14.7?
Yeah.
Yeah, 14.7 PSI. 14.7 PSI is 1 atmosphere absolute. All right, so Boyle's balloons. As pressure increases, volume decreases. So the volume is inversely proportional to the pressure. So one reason I like Boyle's balloons that helps me remember it is if you hold a balloon at the surface and you bring it deep, what do you think is going to happen to that balloon? Let's say that the balloon is full of air at the surface. Yeah. Yeah. And then when you go back up with it, what's it going to do?
Get bigger.
Correct. It's going to expand. Very good.
It's just like that representing your lungs.
All right.
Lungs of balloon.
So 1 cubic foot of air weighs 0.08 pounds. Yeah. And that's not really as important as the next two numbers. Okay. So a cubic foot of fresh water weighs
62.4 pounds.
what?
Salt water is 64 pounds. So do you think salt water is more dense than fresh water? Or?
Yeah.
vice versa?
So
You think
Like,
you have
what
to
is
put,
the Midori on that meeting? What do you know? Like, equivalent.
so do you think you have to add weight when you go in salt water from fresh water? Or take weight away?
good question, Walt.
Take away the wind.
You're going to be,
More dense in
Yeah.
salt water. Salt water is harder to go down.
Plus add weight.
yeah, that's right. You add weight. Very good. All right. So now we're going to get a little more into this, this whole concept of 1 atmosphere absolute. Okay. So 33 feet of seawater is 14.7 PSI. And so we have to remember that at the surface, we have 1 atmosphere absolute as well. So we add the two together and we have 29.4 PSI total pressure. Though that number doesn't matter so much as to know that at 33 feet, we have 2 atmospheres absolute because we have 1 at the surface and then we have 1 at 33 feet. Okay. So now we're going to get into this a little bit more. Well,
Measuring the atmospheres absolute. We have 0 feet in 1 atmosphere and 33 feet. We have 2 atmospheres, 66, 3 atmospheres, and 99, 4 atmospheres.
and that's for saltwater and freshwater, it's 34. The number is 34. Okay.
Wait, what's the PSI for like the weight of the air? Actually, no.
So 14.7 PSI is 1 atmosphere absolute. So, and what was your question? I think that was your question, right? Okay, good. All right. So let's move on then to Boyle's balloons.
Okay, with balloon, if there's a balloon that weighs 1 per pint, at 33 feet, 2 atmospheres, it'll weigh half pint, and 33 feet, or 66 feet, 1/3, and then 99 feet at 4 atmospheres, it'll be a quarter.
A quarter pint, yeah, so it shrinks, just like you said. Very good. All right, our lungs on SCUBA.
Okay, the surface volume, 1 atmosphere is 10. 2 atmospheres is 20, 3 is 30, and 4 atmospheres is 40. So
It's-
why do scuba divers need to exhale on the way up?
Yeah,
Because the air in the body is expanding.
Just like the balloon, right?
yeah, so we're talking about surface equivalent volume. If you're wondering like, well, the other number went down and this goes up. So we're talking about volume now. We're talking about volume of air in your lungs. So it actually expands. So when you ascend, what would happen to your lungs if you held your breath as you ascended?
Super rupture.
Exactly.
Just like the balloon.
So what does that represent? So like 40 pints?
So this is surface equivalent volume of air in your lungs.
Okay.
So there's more pressure on your lungs at depth. It's gonna feel like it's harder to breathe a little bit. But actually the regular, you're not ever gonna dive to 99 feet, by the way. Your maximum depth is 60 feet with us, okay? And so our first dives are gonna be 45 feet max depth, but most of the time we're gonna be at like 30 something feet. Second dives, we are gonna get to 60 feet, but you're not gonna feel like it. We're gonna be in the ocean. You're not gonna feel like it at all. The regulator set adjusts for you, so it's not gonna feel harder. My regulator sets are really good. You're not gonna feel like, oh, this is so much harder when I'm deep. It's not gonna feel like that. Okay, all right. Cardinal rule for scuba diving. Walt.
Always breathe. Always, always, always breathe. Never hold your breath.
Yeah. Otherwise, you could have lung rupture. Yeah.
Remember to clear your ears frequently and constantly breathe.
Yeah.
You'll get that zen like you get when you snorkel, you know?
Yeah, that's true. I call it scuba zen. I really do. So. All right. So thermal adjustments. You're 25 times more likely to get hypothermia in water than out of water. And so these show the areas they say are the greatest heat loss. I find the hands, the head. So I'm going to provide you with some gloves and hood for our springs diving. Okay. So that it keeps you a little bit warmer. Also the core is really important. So I'll provide you with wetsuits if you don't have them. I have plenty of extra wetsuits. So
My feet get cold, my core is cold.
yeah, it's true. Feet too are really important. Now, and that's one reason we wear those nice boots. Much more likely in Florida, instead of being, cold is an issue, is heat is an issue. And so one thing that we do is when we put our wetsuits on, we only zip to our waist. So we'll try it on, like if I'm giving you a wetsuit for the first time, you're going to try it on, zip it up, then you're going to zip it down to your waist, or you're going to just be dripping sweat. And then you're more likely to get heat exhaustion. Okay.
In the water.
When
No.
you're getting ready.
No, when you're getting
got
ready.
Gear ready and somebody's a slow poke and you already got your stuff on.
And I'm probably a slow.
You're going dying right here.
I'm pretty slow because I have RA in my hands, and so it does take me a while to to get my stuff on and off. You don't wear your wetsuit when you go to the bathroom. There are two kind of divers though. Divers who pee in their wetsuits and divers who lie about peeing in their wetsuits. But if you're borrowing my wetsuit, do not pee in my wetsuit, okay? All right. So, so he's booked September
I
2nd.
usually hydrate a lot.
All right, so I just got a message from Kelly. Can you do the 1st instead of the 2nd of September? Let's look at our calendars and see what date. No, it's let's see here. Let's see. So he's already booked on the 2nd. Let's see.
What about the 3rd?
Okay, let me message him. Is that a Sunday?
Yeah.
Can you do the 3rd instead? Question mark.
I mean, you do 3rd or 4th.
Okay.
I mean, if
Yeah,
you're
let me
on,
ask
we
him.
can- If not, we can.
Yeah, I'll ask. Well, I'll be in New York that next weekend, so I think we'll be able to figure it out. Okay, so I've just messaged him and I'll let you know what he says, so. All right, so, believe it or not, we wear wetsuits in temperatures of 80 degrees, okay? Yeah, and if you were foolish enough to do this on the right side, you're probably gonna need a dry suit.
They come in different thicknesses.
Yeah.
From like 0.5 millimeters all the way up to like 7.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
So we're not gonna have to get wetsuits,
No, I'll provide them for you.
and you're providing like a summer suit?
Yes, I'll provide everything you need. So for example, in the ocean, we'll use a thinner suit. If you're gonna get anything of your own, what I really recommend you get is called a dive skin. It's 0.5 mil and you can get it at Coral Reef when you get the other stuff. And it's gonna give you UV protection. And it also, when you put that thicker wetsuit on, it helps it slide right on. I wear a dive skin even in the summertime, like when it's really warm water, because I wear it for UV protection. It also protects you from jellyfish. So if you do encounter a jellyfish, they're gonna bounce right off of you. They're not gonna sting you through it. So now we don't normally see them, but I'm just saying if you did and you wouldn't get stung.
Australian.
Yeah,
You might brush up against if we're at a wreck or something, you brush up against the wreck for.
I mean, hopefully
It
not
keeps you
though.
from getting,
Yeah,
you know.
hopefully not. So wear a wetsuit 80 degrees or below. Okay, he just responded. Hang on. Uh-oh.
So you wouldn't need, I can have a 3 mil. And I just wear, my
That's
skin
like
under here.
sheer. That's sheer.
Or in the summer, I have a little shorty.
Oh,
Okay, he's booked those days too.
okay, so,
So we have a couple of options. I really like this dive charter. We could go with a different charter instead, or we could
yeah,
do a different day.
about, the 26th of August.
Okay, let's
Is
see.
that too soon?
No, that's not too soon. 26th of August, that's the beer festival. Can you do the 27th instead?
Yeah,
Okay,
you'll skip Lego
skip what?
robots. Okay, that sounds okay.
It's just like one,
I don't know, it'll be fine.
unless it's like permanently.
It'll be fine. That works out better, I think.
Okay. All right, I just messaged him. All right, so buoyancy at work. Walt, tell us about buoyancy at work.
See at work, you just want to maintain a nice neutral buoyancy. That's a great position right there. You notice all his equipment, his octo's not on.
No, I was just gonna say, personally, I think our divers look a lot better than this. Yeah, yeah.
You want to maintain a nice streamline. You don't want, you'll see some other divers that look like a Christmas tree and they have so much stuff it's just dangling down and getting all up in the whatever, and they don't look good, and you just want to maintain a nice buoyancy level like that. If you're too heavy, like Gabrielle was saying, your feet are gonna go backwards. There's a lot of things you can do, weights, or you can put your cylinder on maybe a little higher or a little lower. It's just repetition of putting your stuff on, which will help you create that nice buoyancy level.
Her legs typically the same.
Well,
I'm naturally buoyant. I like this way, come down.
we're gonna get you in a position where, you know, you might just be kind of used to keeping your legs down. We're gonna get you in a position that feels a little weird. You're gonna be kind of like this and then, you know, move your head up. So just like this diver is.
You put your head down, get your feet up.
No,
You'll be like-
you'll be like this. We'll get you, trust me, we'll get you like this. We'll get you like this, okay?
Keep legs.
No, I'm not worried. The legs are gonna be fine. All right, so Archimedes principle says,
An object submerged in the water will be buoyant up to the weight of the water it displaces.
so it's buoyed up by the weight of the water it displaces. So, so Walt is gonna ask you in the following examples, will you float, sink, or be neutral?
All right, if you have weight an object, then. All right, if the weight is in the object, will the water displace when the weight is when we take the weight out? Or, I don't know how to explain this.
Okay, I can do it. In the meantime, Kelly did message and he said that he has a full trip in the morning, but he has afternoon available. So can you do the 27th in the afternoon? So we would leave here at noon, or 11:30 or noon to be there at noon, and then it's a 4-hour boat trip.
Okay.
Okay.
Try to get back in the evening.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. And I'm gonna ask if we can have the full boat so that I can invite other people who are in our little clique, so that we know there's all nice people. Okay,
Always a party.
well, it's scuba bubbles we blow. Okay, so we're gonna weigh an object and then we're gonna submerge it. We're gonna catch the water to displace, then weigh it. So here's the first scenario. We have something that weighs 64 pounds. And just remember that a cubic foot of salt water weighs 64 pounds. So is it gonna float, sink, or be neutral? Very good, excellent. That's right, perfect. Now, the shape of an object and lots of other things can impact this as well.
Like if it has.
Yes. All right, so the next thing is 58 pounds. Is it gonna float, sink, or be neutral? Awesome, good job. It's gonna float. Now, the next example, we have something that weighs 68 pounds. What's it gonna do?
See.
Yes, you got it. All right, there's a lot of other things affecting buoyancy. It could include the size and weight of the diver, the type and amount of equipment, the amount of weight worn, which we've talked about quite a few times, the thickness of the wetsuit. So I'm assuming you both get cold pretty easily. You don't?
She does.
She does. Okay. So I'm probably going to give you a 5 mil for the springs, and I'll give you a 3 mil for the springs if you tell me you don't get super cold easily.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So that would mean that who is going to wear more weight if all other factors were the same? Would you wear more with 5 millimeter or 3 millimeter wetsuit? More with a 5 millimeter, because it's going to make you more buoyant. So you have to compensate for that. Okay.
So like how much you wear, you would have to like counter that.
Exactly. So in the pool, we're going to be in salt, which is great. So then we're going to do some adjusting. So depending on how much weight we put in on you, typically I start people your size off with 2 pounds. Okay. And 2 pounds is normally all you need. If you're stressed and you're holding air in your lungs, I might need to give you 3 pounds instead of 2 pounds. And then we compensate for it when we go into, let's say we went from saltwater pool into saltwater ocean, but the water temperature is going to require you to wear a 3 millimeter wetsuit. Well, then we might add another 2 to 3 pounds to compensate for it.
So the warmer the water, you're more buoyant, right?
The what?
The warmer the water.
It's not about temperature,
Salt or fresh.
salt or fresh,
And then thickness of the.
and the thickness of the wetsuit.
Temperature affects density.
No, so temperature affects the thickness of wetsuit I'm gonna give you. Right? Or if you told me you don't get cold easily. Like I have people who are like, oh, it's 74 degrees, I'll wear a 0.5 millimeters. I have people this weekend, they're like, oh no, on Saturday, I'm taking a whole bunch of divers. And so the people that are wearing like 0.5 millimeters, they're not gonna get hardly any weight to compensate because they're basically wearing just a little bit more than their skin, you know? And then those of us like me who are wearing 3 pounds, we might need a little bit more. So, unless you're like me, because I'm like really relaxed in the water. But lots of other things affect buoyancy, including
The amount of air in your cylinder, air in your lungs, that's a big one. That's, everyone's gonna get nervous. I went back and looked at my old dive logs, and I started off with 10 pounds. And I wrote that I wasn't heavy enough, and I wear 6 now. And it was because I was nervous.
She's just breathing a lot.
Yeah, I was just nervous about the dives and everything. And the items you carry on a dive, flashlights and real
cameras.
and other things affect your buoyancy and how it affects your trim and buoyancy. And then the water, whether it's fresh or salt water.
Yeah, and there's a lot of adjustments made throughout the dive. And this is what Walt was talking about before.
And so at the top, you're negatively buoyant. You're at the slightly head elevated position. Your feet are kind of dragging, and you'll get exhausted because you're always trying to right yourself, but you've got too much weight. And again, that can be accomplished with, you got different places to put your weight. We're gonna have a weight belt on, but you can move your tank around and
Cylinder.
around.
So tank is the slang term, and I try to get dive masters to use
That's
the
only
correct.
time I said it, so
No, you said it one other time.
you only said tank one other. And positively buoyant is when you're head down. That might be if you have your cylinder way up and it's hitting you the back of the head, it might be pushing you forward in the water. And being neutrally buoyant is exactly that, neutrally buoyant. It's really, once you master the neutral buoyancy, your life underwater will be much better. And then you'll start looking at people and go, oh man, I'm way more buoyant than them. Maybe we're neutral buoyant than that person is. And, or you'll go, that person's kind of heavy, and you'll see people like that.
One thing you'll notice is that we produce really, really good divers. And so we have people often who go through the class and they'll go on trips. And I'll be like, let the person know you were recently certified, let the organizers know. And inevitably they will come back to me all over the world. They're diving. They'll come back to me. They're like, they told me that I'm a better diver than like people they've seen with hundreds of dives under their belt. And it's because we're very, particular about making sure people are weighted correctly, that your buoyancy is good, that your form, your trim, so that you're going to be a really good diver. Okay.
Since it's just two of you, when we get in the pool, we can make sure your weights are the right weight for you in your pool and everything. There's a test we can do, and you want to be, when you let all the air out of your BC, you want to come down where your face is level with the water. And that tells you you're right at the right weight in your, for what you have on at moment. And you're gonna take notes in your dive log, and you're gonna refer back to them. And you're gonna go, oh man, I'm going on another boat dive again. What did I wear that time?
Exactly.
Good.
And like Walt said, the really neat thing is that you're going to keep track of it. And in the beginning, you may need a little more weight than when you really learn to relax. And so that's a fun thing when you realize, like, I don't need this much weight. And everything is easier when you're wearing less weight. Everything is easier. In the beginning, you're going to be frustrated. You're going to be like, but I can't get down. And then I'm going to be like, relax. I'm going to come hold your hands. I'm going to help you breathe. And then you're going to sink. And it's just going to be like an adjustment. Okay, so how pressure affects us. Ears are one thing. Do either of you ever have sinus problems too? Good. Okay. Because if you have sinus issues, I get sinus issues when I'm run down. And when you're diving, it will reveal it to you. You'll feel like the airspace is in your sinus cavities and stuff. So I will take 120 milligrams Sudafed to help with that. Anytime I run down, I'll take one. So yeah, our ears are really, really important to protect. Do you both already know how to clear your ears? Good. We're going to go through. Okay, we're going to go through some maneuvers shortly. So and normal eardrum looks something like that. Squeeze is pressing in, and reverse block is pressing out. So you want to clear your ears early and often. Okay.
Do you clear your ear while you're going up?
So you don't really need to clear so much going up. It's the going down part. They seem to be a little more natural going up. Now, I'll say that when I'm fighting a cold or something, because I dive year round, even with, I'm not your normal diver. I'm not going to say, oh, I have a little bit of a sniffles right now. I'm not going to go diving. I dive like all the time. So if I have that, then I'm going to have to clear going up. It's just, but most of the time it's really natural coming up. It's the going down part. And it's really the 0 to 15 feet is the hardest part. So
some people really struggle with that. Just clear on the boat, clear before you get ready to go down, clear the first 2 feet,
Yep.
4 feet, 6 feet.
yeah, clear even when you don't think you need to clear, and you'll be fine. But let's go over.
You don't need to like really hurt your nose or hurt your ear.
Oh, yeah.
You'll have people that
Yeah.
have bloody noses.
We have people mash the heck out of. Don't do that. No. This is people who like, they
Really
squeeze their
smash
nose.
your ear.
You don't have to, like, we're going to practice in just a minute. We're going to practice some techniques, but you don't need to press really hard on your nose to make it, form a seal. And we'll have people inevitably like mash their nose, and then they end up with a
But
bloody
your
nose.
nose, it'll get sore from this feeling.
But we're going to show you
Unless you
other,
learn the
yeah,
other
we're going to show you
techniques,
some
it'll
other
get
techniques.
better.
Yeah, we're going to show you some other techniques. If you don't clear your ears well, you're going to end up with something called middle ear barotrauma, which is really not good. Okay. These signs and symptoms include a feeling of clogged or stuffed ears, ear discomfort or pain that increases with descent, fluid buildup, possible bleeding. And if you really hurt your ears, you can have eardrum rupture, and that can lead to vertigo and hearing loss. Have either of you ever had ear infections before? You have, so you know what that feels like. Yeah, so we don't want to do that. We do not want to do that. So we're going to teach you methods of clearing in a minute, but I'm also going to tell you that I highly recommend ear protection. These are Dox Pro plugs. They're the only vented plug on the market. The only one specific for scuba, and I'm a distributor for them, and I highly recommend them. They are, super easy to wear, and I wear them when I'm run down. But if you have any challenges with ear clearing, they're going to help you a lot. They're going to protect your ears. So, and then another product that I think is really good is Ear Shield, which is a mineral oil. I don't recommend alcohol. I used alcohol in my ears for years after to like get the water out. It's not good for your ears. So this is a mineral oil, a really natural thing. So, all right, let's practice some clearing. Now, the most common kind of maneuver that people use is the Valsalva maneuver. Okay, and you're gonna gently pinch. Actually, you want to describe? You're gonna gently pinch your nose.
Just gently pinch your nose and blow gently until you can feel your eardrums moving.
You feel it? You kind of like press out.
I mean, it just,
Hey, do you know how to clear your ears on a plane?
I mean, I can swallow it.
Oh, that's even easier. That's better,
That's
actually.
another.
That's a technique I'm about to show you. This is the most common maneuver, and it's really not the most effective maneuver, but this is what everybody gets taught, the Valsalva maneuver. And so you'll see brand new divers especially always do this maneuver. So you gently pinch your nose and you blow out. I don't find it, I find swallowing to be way more effective. Okay, so let me talk about the other methods. The voluntary tubal opening, and we're going to practice these, okay? This one, voluntary tubal opening, you're going to tense your throat and you're going to push your jaw forward. So watch, there you go. Watch Walt. Finn is concerned. Finn is like, yeah. So, okay, good. The next is the Toynbee maneuver. You're going to pinch your nose and swallow. And I don't even have to pinch my nose to clear my ears. You won't even notice with me because I've really gotten it down to like, you'll get to know your body and how best. The next is a Frenzel maneuver. You're going to pinch your nose and make, I don't make the K sound, but think about the tongue hitting the roof of your mouth. Okay. So pinch your nose and kind of like push the tongue up to the top of the roof of your mouth. Next is the Lowry technique. You're going to pinch your nose, blow and swallow. Okay. All right.
Do you hear your ears popping?
Good. And the final one is the Edmonds technique. You're going to pinch your nose, blow, and push your jaw forward. Pinch your nose, blow, and push your jaw forward.
Oh.
You feel
And
it?
there's the hokey
Did you feel
pokey.
it? And so,
Hokey maneuvers.
yeah. So what you want to do is find out what works best for you. And honestly, sometimes what works on a plane does not, or on land does not work best for people in the water. You want to know about all these techniques, and then I'll tell you some other techniques that are really important. You're going to want to look up to stretch your eustachian tubes. Look up and clear. So when you're in the water, look up and practice clearing. And if you're still having challenges, try this. Okay, kind of tilt your head sideways, and this is going to stretch your eustachian tubes, and that often helps too. Now, if you're stressed out, which often people are on their first set of dives, this is especially hard. And so we're just going to sit there and we're not ever going to force our ears to hurt. Okay, we're going to really focus on making sure that they're clear before we go down. We don't want to hurt ourselves. All right. There are also going to be breathing adjustments we need to be aware of. We don't want to have lung overexpansion. We don't want to have skip breathing. Skip breathing is something that I have seen in other countries, especially where dive masters will skip every other breath to save their air, which is so ridiculous. You want to have a normal breathing pattern, and you want to make sure that the gas that you breathe is clean. What's the cardinal rule of diving? Always breathe, never hold your breath. Very good. If you don't, guess what can happen? Pulmonary barotrauma. Okay, this is a test question, so you should know about this. Pulmonary barotrauma includes things like pneumothorax, mediastinal emphysema, subcutaneous emphysema, and arterial gas embolism.
Do I have to spell these ones?
No, you don't. It's a multiple choice test. It's not that hard.
Wait,
So,
do I look so-
yeah.
So
Just remember barotrauma.
Stuff in the-
Just remember, barotrauma means pressure-related injury, and pulmonary means lungs, right?
Oh.
So all of these things are related to not, doing things as you should and holding your breath. Another thing we should be aware of is heart and lungs. This is exercise. You need to be physically fit to dive. it's not gonna feel like it. You're gonna be sweating and you're not gonna feel like it. So there's immersion workload. Your heart is gonna work 1.3 to 1.5 times harder than on land. And, you know, when you're in cold water or have elevated stress, your heart rate is gonna be a little higher. Now my heart rate normally, it's really low when I dive, even when I'm like when I've saved somebody's life, my heart rate is still nice and calm, and it has helped me many times get out of sticky situations people have gotten themselves into.
When you exert yourself down there, there could be a current at the top of the surface pushing you one direction, a current at the bottom of it.
Almost
bottom of
always,
the water pushing
yeah.
Another direction.
almost always where we dive in Panama City, there's going to be a surface current. Not when you're down below, there's normally not a big current. Other places you dive, there's big current underwater. And so let's say you're on a shipwreck. If there's current underwater, you want to stay close to the structure and you're not going to feel it. As soon as you get off of the wreck, then you're going to feel it. So, okay. But you do need to be physically fit to dive. There are also equilibrium adjustments. Right? We talked about ears already, but middle ears and semicircular canals. And then there's something called alternobaric vertigo. And this can cause dizziness. It's not a common thing, but if you're not doing a good job with clearing your ears, you may experience it. And it's going to make you feel dizzy and maybe even a little nauseated. Much more likely, though, is seasickness. This is even for people who have been on boats a lot, okay? The seas are typically really flat in Panama City, but if you have any propensity to get seasick, I highly recommend you take a non-drowsy Dramamine or Bonine. Always better to prepare and not get seasick, okay? Obviously, other things affect you as well, what you eat, what you smell, like diesel fumes do. Oh, diesel fumes really do me in on the water. Movement on the boat, you want to keep your eyes on the horizon. So you do get seasick pretty easily. Okay, so you definitely need to medicate. Okay, and what about you? Do you get, okay, good. All right. All right, well.
And you also have some visual adjustments. Remember the objects appear at 3/4 are actually 4/3 of the size, and light loss at depths.
Turbidity.
Good question. What do you think turbidity is? Okay. No, it has to do with the clarity of the water. So turbidity is like the sediment and such in the water. So, okay. Yeah, and I have been on really deep dives, and I can tell you that surface light penetrates much deeper than you think it does, which is one reason I wear UV clothing, because I've been on many deep dives and it's just as bright, you know, it's really nice. But Walt mentioned before, colors change too. So Walt?
At depths, colors change. You start losing colors at which color first?
Yellow.
Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. So what would the red look like at 50 feet? It'll look
Gray. Nah, it'll look gray. Everything just looks gray. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. This is,
I wondered about that because I just didn't have any gear with me. All I had was food. Like,
it's like, oh, this isn't that pretty, but actually it is. So I wear lights on my hands. And so when we go diving, I'm going to light things up and you're going to be like, wow, that's so pretty. Okay. So you'll get to see really pretty things. Like I said, at Big Blue, you're not even going to notice things probably because you're going to be so task loaded and stressed. And then when we go on the boat, which coincidentally is called Big Blue Dive Boat, when we go on the boat, you're going to be like, wow, this is so cool. And we'll do like a shipwreck and I'll take you to a place that when you're going to see it, it looks like just a big gray wreck, and I'm going to light it up and you're going to see like oranges and purples, and it's going to be like, wow, this is so pretty. Okay.
No wonder it was so like lifeless.
Yeah.
You went into so many.
So there's in-gassing and out-gassing, and this is where nitrogen is absorbed and oxygen is used, and it deals with absorption in our body tissues. Walt mentioned this before, we do a really, really slow ascent, and we do safety stops to control the nitrogen in our body. In fact, the dive tables, which we're not getting into now, is all about managing the nitrogen in our bodies, okay? So ascent rates, safety stops are really important. If you don't obey the laws of SCUBA, you will end up with decompression sickness. And signs and symptoms we're going to talk about shortly, but the most common sign and symptom, according to Divers Alert Network, they've done a lot of research on it, is what? What do you think it is? The most common symptom of decompression sickness? No, it's actually joint pain. And it's not in, let's say you have a bum elbow. It's not that. It's somewhere that you wouldn't normally have it. So it would be an elbow or a shoulder or something, a knee, that's the most common reported symptom. And first aid is going to be oxygen and then recompression in a hyperbaric chamber. And so, you definitely don't want to be the soda bottle and releasing the nitrogen ineffectively. And again, other things that affect this are going to be, sleep, exertion after a dive is also important. You don't want to run a marathon after you're diving. Okay. You don't want to take super scorching hot showers either, because if you do have nitrogen bubbles, they're going to expand with the heat. And you want to watch what you consume. Now, afterward, if you, want to have caffeine or anything else, you can, but not before, you just need to be, everything is in moderation. No substances whatsoever that would affect it. All right. Reducing risk. We want to ascend at less than 30 feet per minute. And we want to do safety stops on every dive at 15 feet for at least 3 minutes. And so Walt mentioned before how slow it is. It's super slow. It's like hand over hand. That's how slow we come up. Every dive, we do 15 feet for 3 minutes with some exceptions. So one exception would be, let's say that we go scalloping and the depth is 22 feet. Okay. We don't need to do a safety stop. So typically, if the depth is less than 1 atmosphere below the surface, we don't need to do a safety stop. Now, would it hurt to do one? No. But it's a little overkill. It is, if you're only diving to 30 feet, you don't need to do a safety stop. Then you need to do a safety stop.
Really not down there for very long, because you're spending so much time.
No, we go down fairly quickly, and it'll feel a lot longer than what it is, on your first dives. So I'll tell you, you're going to plan your dives as part of this. On the next time we meet, you're going to have your dive tables and we're going to plan our dives then. But the first dives are going to be maxed up to 45 feet. And you're going to come up with a good dive plan. And then I'm going to tell you what the real limiting factors are going to be. And honestly, in the springs, it's going to be cold. We don't want to spend 2 hours in the cold water, even with a wetsuit on. We'll be miserable. Okay. So, all right. So decompression sickness. Joint pain is the most common symptom. Other symptoms include
tingling in your a little paralysis in your hands, limited use of the legs. Your legs might start cramping up. Vision problems and like dizziness or like feeling like you're drunk or something, lightheaded.
no, that's not a good analogy. Well. So, no, it's not going to be that at all. You're going to feel like you are dizzy. You're just going to feel dizzy. Yes, it can feel like altitude sickness.
I know.
Yeah. Have you had altitude sickness before? Yeah, I can feel like that.
Yeah, it's being heavy, it's really tired.
Yeah, you're really tired and stuff too. So, but the chances of you getting this are so slim, especially as an open water diver. This tends to be really, really, intense diving. Like, let's say you're doing 7 dives a day to 100 feet plus. And this just happened to someone on our leadership team. Seriously, he did 7 dives a day. He was a working diver, Jacob, and he did 7 dives a day to like 110 feet. And then they asked him to start hauling cylinders. He carried 40 cylinders after diving. And he was in North Carolina and it was hot, really hot, like 100-degree temperatures. And here he is lugging, after all this intense diving, lugging these cylinders. And it was the exercise after the diving that caused him to get decompression sickness. So,
Like decompression sickness curable?
yes, yes, you need to go into a hyperbaric chamber. So the first line of defense is give oxygen, and then you need to go into a hyperbaric chamber.
Where can you go?
So we have 2 in Tallahassee, but you know, they don't get a lot of customers. We really don't have, like, I'll tell you, cave diving, you're more likely to get it. We're the kind of diving we're doing is super calm, super chill, super like not like we're so overly cautious about being safe that your chances of getting it as an open water diver are so slim. If you obey the laws, right? So you look at your dive table, you plan your dive and you dive your plan. And then when you come up, you go nice and slow and you breathe and you're not going to have any problems. Okay. All right. So again, first aid is, oh yeah, this is a whole different thing. In any scenario, when you do need to provide first aid, the treatment, are either of you first aid certified? No? Okay. So safe scene is the first thing. So Walt, do you want to address this? Because I know you just did a first aid class. So
You just want to survey the, area to make sure you're not going to be another casualty.
exactly.
Or you're trying to care for someone else.
Here's a good example of that. I was in the Philippines diving and there was a guy who came up the ladder and we were all wearing like thin wetsuits because the water temperature was pretty warm, but thankfully he was wearing a thin wetsuit and a hood. There was a Portuguese man-of-war on him as he came up the ladder. He was the last diver up and he came up there and he had no idea. He was just, oh, that was awesome. Yeah. We're like, wait, stop. Safe scene. Like there's a Portuguese man-of-war on you. And he's like, you're kidding. And we're like, no, seriously. He's like, get it off of me. Stop. No, we can't. If we touch that thing, guess what's going to happen? Yeah, we're going to get stung. Portuguese man-of-wars are not fun, right? So we're like, you sit down, we're going to get some implements because we didn't even trust our gloves. I mean, you could sting through the gloves. So we get like these metal things and we started like prying it off of him and got it and flung it into the water. That's safe scene. We didn't want to become a second one. All right. Well, what's ABCs?
Air,
Airway.
breathing,
Mhm.
circulation.
Very good. You want to check for the ABCs. You want to,
Have them lie flat. And call for help. And then deliver them 100% of oxygen. And then, hyperbaric chamber.
We have one of those?
we do.
Well,
Yep, we do. We actually have a decent one. You had a question?
How old do you have to be to get first aid certified?
12?
want to get certified?
I can help you with that. Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
And we do like rescue diving. Yeah.
we do all kinds of fun things.
All kinds of-
And actually the first aid,
Just only started.
we oxygen administration and CPR but seriously, the CPR and first aid is a really good class for even non-divers to take. It's really, really smart. So, and we put a little bit of a diving spin on it because we're divers, but we teach to people who are not divers too. So. All right. And then if you ever are in an incident, even around the world, and if this happens, you call Divers Alert Network and they'll walk you through, okay, what was your dive profile? What are your symptoms? And they can help you with it. But a much more likely thing that's going to happen in Florida is dehydration. Way more likely. Okay. Because again, you're sweating in the water and you're not going to realize you're sweating in the water. And so scuba diving has a diuretic effect. And they say avoid diuretic drinks. I'm going to say, you can have like one caffeinated beverage, but just offset it with drinking more water. Hydrate frequently. I'll be reminding you constantly to hydrate. Okay. Yes, exactly. There's also mobility adjustments, right? Well,
Lifting heavy gear, you're gonna be lifting heavy gear, walking in your fins. The drag and current, those are some factors, and streamlining your gear, like making sure your stuff isn't dangling off. everything like that.
And we're really particular about that, so you're gonna learn the right way.
Boat's gonna be rocking. There's a lot of different factors.
And it doesn't really rock so much in where we go, but yeah, if you're in South Florida or other places, it might. All right, so nitrogen narcosis is not something you're ever going to experience because it typically happens at 80 to 100 feet, but it is a test question. So we're going to share with you what nitrogen narcosis is. And so this is a feeling that you're going to have if you did go to 80 to 100 feet on air. You might get nitrogen narcosis. You're going to have a feeling of euphoria. Walt mentioned it's going to make you feel like you're a little drunk or something. But some people actually think they have feelings that they can breathe without their regulator in their mouth. And so you don't want to ever exceed your training limit, which is 60 feet, unless you take an advanced class and you're with an instructor who knows what to look for with the signs and the symptoms. It's not super serious though if this happens, unless you're completely out of it and you're like, oh, I can breathe underwater, let me take my regulator, then it's serious. But otherwise, all you need to do if you're like, oh, I feel a little weird and I'm at 80 feet, I feel a little weird, just ascend a little bit and it'll go right away. That's all you need to do. Another thing you need to do is get nitrox certified, and that really helps because you're going to have more oxygen rather than nitrogen in the cylinder. So, and avoid deep dives. Hazardous marine life from Walt. You want to take this?
You got things like the sea urchin,
We teach this stuff, by the way, but again, the chances of this happening are very slim.
and sponges. There's a lot of things that it can poke you and stuff, so we'll be able to address that, you know, taking out the spines and cleaning the wounds and everything, and soak it in hot water, and then, you know, you need to see this physician if you experience any joint pain or you think it's caused some kind of a reaction.
Have either of you ever had an encounter with a sea urchin or a jellyfish or anything?
I mean, I've definitely
Jellyfish, yeah.
Been around here.
Yeah, I mean, ideally you just don't touch anything.
Been stung by
Fish or just jellyfish?
the- No, I think my jellyfish was never been.
Yeah. So I do recommend,
You want to maintain your buoyancy.
yeah,
So you don't hit things, so you don't, oh no, I'm about to hit this, you know, something I don't want to touch. But there's sea urchins and, you know.
yeah, and I do recommend you get dive skins then. Dive skins are awesome. So check them out at Coral Reef when you're there and just see. I always wear one. You'll see me wearing one in the pool. You'll see me wearing one under my wetsuit. It really does help.
What's it feel like?
You know, I can actually tell you this because I have had almost 3,000 dives, and I had one incident when it was actually in the jetties in Panama City. And I was kind of sitting there waiting as there was a panic diver with his instructor, and they were taking up like the passage, they were taking up the space, and I was just like waiting for them. And the surge was pretty big at the time. It was kind of going back and forth like this. And it was taking a long time for this instructor to deal with his panic diver. And I'm just like, da, da, da. And all of a sudden there was a surge, and I ended up right into a sea urchin. And the spines went into my arm, and my first instinct was a bad one. I went like this, and guess what I did? I pushed it in a little bit more. Okay. All right. So, you know, I didn't really think anything of it. It didn't hurt, you know, but here's the thing. What I learned is that I actually have a really rare allergic reaction to venom from sea urchin. Isn't that crazy? I ended up with what felt like food poisoning. It didn't happen until later in the day. And I ended up the only time in my life I've ever been in the ER. And it was because I had, I was just vomiting, and I was like food poisoning. It was like everything. It was like my body just reacted, but that's so unusual. I actually reached out, you know, to someone who's called like the SCUBA doc. I reached out and I was like, I'm going to explain to you what happened because, you know, this is my first sea urchin sting. He's like, it would be really unusual, but they do have a venom and it's possible. He said it would just be so unusual. So go figure. Yeah, but you know, the chances of that happening are again, like super slim. I just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I was hanging out, you know, waiting for this person. Normally you wouldn't be doing that. So And then sponge dermatitis, don't touch sponges, don't touch coral, don't touch anything, okay? But if you did, there's always things. And again, with allergic reactions, including with jellyfish, you want to remove tentacles, don't flush with fresh water. There's an old wives' tale, don't urinate in the wounds. You probably heard, no, that's just gross, and it not going to help. You can shave and use a razor to remove the nematocysts, soak in hot water, use topical pain relievers. But normally on a boat, they'll have diluted vinegar. You know, we don't really have any issues here with box jellyfish or anything. But if you did have an allergic reaction, you might have to provide CPR. We teach about these things, but it's really, really not something we ever have seen, quite frankly. I've never, you know, all my dives, I've never seen anyone have allergic reaction to jellyfish. So it's super unusual. I have been stung by them before, you know, and so that's, I've been stung by jellyfish. You haven't been stung by jellyfish? I've been stung, not scuba diving, just being in the ocean, right? And so like, if I'm just swimming in the ocean, I'm not going to be wearing my dive skin and I might end up, you know, stung by jellyfish, but it's not terrible. All right. So the final portion of the class, we're just kind of zip through because you're going to learn about this when we are poolside. So you're going to see an O-ring in the cylinder, and the O is going to come out to the back of your head. You're going to stand behind the gear, and we'll show you how to do this when we're poolside. After the BC comes the regulator. The BC is the buoyancy compensator. In other countries, they use buoyancy compensation device, BCD. The regulator is next. And that dust cap is super important, which we'll teach you about when we see you in person and by the pool. And then you have the primary regulator, and then you have the yellow one, which is the octopus. The yellow one is longer hose, and it's used to save other people who are out of air. We're going to do a lot of out of air drills and things so that you're going to be good dive buddies for each other. But yeah, you're going to stand behind your gear and you're going to figure out where things go. The second stages, which are the things you breathe out of, are on your right, and everything else, the gauges and the hose, the inflator hose, are on the left. And so you just think, where does the air come from? Where does it go to? And put them together. We will hook everything up, and yeah, and then we'll get to go diving. So, and again, we zip through this because it really doesn't make sense until you actually have the stuff in front of you. So that's module 2. We talked about diving physics, thermal adjustments, buoyancy, breathing, heart, lungs, in-gassing, out-gassing, and mobility. And yep, we're going to learn a lot more when we get together. All right, swimming requirements. Don't forget, you need to pass the exit requirements. So we're going to start with the 50-foot underwater swim. It says the standards say without push off, but my instructor allowed me to push off. Therefore, I allow my students to push off. Okay. I encourage you to push off because you're going to get 10 extra feet without even trying. Okay. And then after that, we're going to do the 300 yard surface swim. And this is at the surface, and you can just do any kind of kick you want. You just keep swimming, but don't do the freestyle. Don't do that unless you're a super experienced swimmer. Do side stroke, breaststroke, elementary backstroke. We want to do the ones that save energy. It is not time, just take your time. And then we'll do the 15-minute tread water or survival floating. So if you don't have much body fat.
All in one session.
Yeah, all in one session. Okay, so we're gonna start with the swim test, and then we're going to go into skin diving, and then we'll go into scuba. Okay.
So are we gonna do like all of, reading up stuff before we do swimming, or are you gonna do this?
You mean the timing of when you're going to be learning?
Yeah.
So we have another lecture or two before. I don't remember now. How's the timing going? All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording here.